Good morning, everyone that's here and online. Welcome to the continued training on the real estate pie. Our goal is to focus on how do we better serve our clients. And the real estate pie, as you know from our previous lessons, has been focusing on new homes, resale, and distressed. Why is this so crucial for us to understand how to service our clients? Is because we, through our real estate career, will be faced with different challenges and different clients. And in that retrospect, we have to understand how to better service them. Also, our goal is to bring in professional people who have been in the industry and have served clients in different situations or circumstances. And again, sometimes you sit with your clients and they're excited, but yet in a couple of years, maybe death or distress or debt or unfortunate things happen, and now your client's in a different position. And we talk about how we're going to service that seller now who's in a different position in their life. Or they want to sell their resale and move into a new home. And we talk a lot about new construction and how that is to take place, how we're transitioning a client from an existing home and resale to a new home that might take 7 or 8 or 9 months to build. So understanding and having the knowledge of how to service these clients is very crucial in our industry. We talk about the 3 phases. We talk about the resale. We talk about the distressed. And we talk about new homes. These are the 3 categories that we focus on every Tuesday and in our training on Pie of Real Estate. Why? Because your client will move from one category to the other throughout their lifetime. All of us have had situations where people just want to buy a home. They go on the market, it's their first home, it's a first-time home buyer, they go buy a resale. Why? Because usually resales are cheaper per square foot than new homes. You've went out there in the market and you've had those crazy calls or unfortunate situations or something happen in life and people are distressed financially. They call you and they go, we need to sell our home in the next 2 weeks, and you have to talk to people how that needs to be done. And then new homes. People have lived in their resale for 3 to 5 years and now they want to build their dream home. Or they got a career raise and now they have an opportunity to live in a nicer neighborhood, nicer community, and they want to buy a new home. Or they want better schools for their kids. So they're going to move into the area of new homes where there's maybe more amenities, better schools, and so forth. So your clients will move from one category or another throughout your career. And our goal here is to talk about what services. We're in the service industry. What is our offering to the client? And when we understand what is my offering to the client, this is how we will eventually attract clients, retain clients, get great referrals, and get new business. Why? Because you are confident that, yes, I could provide this service. Before we talk about our training of the day session, I want to just talk about the thought of the day. This is kind of the business development section of our training. And it's just things I throw out there that all of us are in business. We're in business to make more transactions. We're in business to make more money. So it's really important that we focus on business development. And the thought of the day actually comes from Robert Kiyosaki's book on business. Self-employed employee, self-employed business owner, an investor. So when we start as brokers, we actually, these are 4 categories that he talks about: employee, self-employed, business owner, and investor. So I'm going to talk about employee, self-employed, business owner, and investor. He does a phenomenal job in his Rich Dad, Poor Dad book discussing these 4 categories. How people start in the industry. All of us start as employees. Somewhere I got employed. I remember my first time when I was mowing grass. My neighbor employed me to mow their grass. So I was an employee to my neighbor. They paid me whatever, $10 back then, to do their front yard and backyard. So then, I had an opportunity to work in a fast food restaurant as an employee. What's so unique about an employee? I think the biggest aspect of employment is accountability. You have to check in at a certain time frame. You have to check out at a certain time frame. Accountability is probably the greatest development that you could do for yourself while being an employee. I always say if you look at your monthly statement bill, if it did not have a deadline, most people would never pay it. It's just psychology, but if we did not have a deadline, most people would not pay their utility bill. That's what an employee learns. He learns that in life there's deadlines. You have to check in at a certain time or you got to check out at a certain time. Why? If you don't do that, you're going to get fired. It's a hard lesson to learn in life, but you start to learn that there's an accountability when you are an employee. So an employee, you learn a lot. Then you become a self-employed. This is where most of our broker life is. Most brokers start as self-employers. They have to create their own schedule. They have to create their own business plan. They have to figure out financing. They have to figure out how they're going to pay themselves, if they have anything to pay themselves. But this is what all self-employed people talk about and think about. They think about how they have to excel. And one of our sessions, we talked about invest more into yourself than into your business. This is self-employment. A lot of my subcontractors are self-employment, most brokers, and the whole business of brokerage is all around being self-employed. So our office center, market center, all the brokers are self-employed. They're subject to making their own business run. Then you're a business owner. This is where you employ people, and a lot of management goes into here. So management is the art of business ownership. You learn how to manage time, tasks, talent. You know how to hire and fire. Business ownership is what management is all about. You focus on lead flow, sales. You focus on marketing. There's a lot of things you have to manage. That's what business owners do. They manage. Self-employed manage themselves. Business owners manage themselves, plus a bunch of other people underneath them. And this is all depends on how big you want to build your company. And then you have investors. Investors' formula is money equals money. That's what investors think. Their business is money equals money. They invest money into markets, they invest money into product, they invest money into manufacturing, they invest money into marketing, whatever. But end of the day, all they're thinking about is money equals money. So when you look at your business, look at this formula, look at where you're at, become first a good employer of yourself, and then once you're in a self-employed for a very long time, lead yourself. And one of my leadership books, it says, first lead yourself to success, and then maybe you want to become a business owner where you lead others to success, and then you become an investor where you eventually understand that money makes money, and you don't have to maybe put as much work on managing people or managing yourself by learning how to truly manage money. So investor world is all about managing money. Questions on this or extra thoughts? So last time we talked was services that we offer to our buyers. And one takeaway I just want to talk about before we go to talking about the services that we want to offer to sellers is the buyer box. We had a whole list of items that we have to provide as services for buyers, but I would say the biggest takeaway from that lesson was, what is your buyer's box for that client? And what I mean is, your buyer box. What does this buyer want, and does it truly fit in this box? So when people call me on new home sales, one of the things I ask is, if they buy the land for this is the square footage, what is the buyer box? What do they want? And then I go, well, it fits into that box or it doesn't. And I mean, we talked a lot about the services that we offer, and all of those services that we offer, we help put this box around what the buyer truly wants. And we say, well, no, you're stepping out of the box. I think this is what will meet your guidelines. This is what will meet your finances. This is what will meet your time frames. This is what will meet your needs within the context of your buyer box. And that's the only thing that I just wanted to recap from our last session. That work on your buyer box, and the more you work on your buyer box for your client, the better that buyer will have an understanding of what they could truly buy in the market. And I say it's good to have dreams, it's good to have, your desires, but then there's a reality check. And I will say there's two ways, and this is another rabbit trail, but there's two ways to approach reality. Either you come from below, come to reality, or you come crashing down into reality. So some people, they underestimate and they move their way into reality. Other people overestimate and they come crashing down into reality. But reality is really what eventually they buy. That's their buyer box. Is what is reality. What really makes things happen for your clients. Let's jump into today's session. We're going to talk about how to provide services to your seller. Your seller. So you have a lead that comes in, or you know somebody. What is identified as a seller is a person who owns real estate. They own real estate and they want to put this real estate on the market or off market, but they want to sell their property. And you as a broker, you have a job. You have to start thinking about what services you have to offer to this seller to help them sell their house. And I can make a huge list, couple pages, but we have to start equipping ourselves with these services. If we don't, then we have nothing to offer when we meet the homeowner. We have absolutely nothing to offer. But we have to understand, what can I provide as a service to this homeowner that is sitting in front of me and wants to sell their home. Or you could turn the tables. You become the seller. And what services would you want a broker to offer to you? And it's really good to do these role plays, and a lot of Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry training talks about role playing. Why? Because they want you to switch seats with the person you're talking to and figure out, okay, if this person says this, what can I offer back? If a person says what title company you work with and you have no idea why you work with the title companies you work with, that can become a big challenge. So I just want to talk to a couple. Understand their product. We talk a lot about this in our trainings. Product, product, product. Why? Well, SFRs were huge, single-family residentials, but then when density goes up, townhomes started to show up. When density started to go up, condominiums started to show up. We talk a lot about product. You have to understand what the seller owns. What do they own? If they own a house, figure out how to help them sell a home. If they own a townhome, figure out how townhomes operate, how common walls work, who takes care of the front yard, if it's covered by the HOA, and so forth. If it's a condominium, then your HOAs are elevated to a whole new level. Now there's more common areas and so forth. You have to understand product. And so, oftentimes when I come in, I ask them, especially if it's your first time selling somebody's home, Tour the home. Can you talk to me about, so we talk about cross-training. We did this in another session, but this is what you should be really after. You should learn from your seller. If you don't know how to sell product, probably the homeowner knows a little bit more than you because they've lived there. So if they lived in a condo and you have no idea, well, maybe ask a handful of brokers, and then when you're at the appointment, start to ask them about HOAs and common areas. How does this whole community work and operate? You'll learn a handful of things while you're sitting there across from your seller. So understand product. Product is really crucial. Understand presentation. How are you going to present your information to your client? Whether it's just one page of a brochure, whether it's a link, whether it's a box. I've seen brokers send a box to clients. I mean, it doesn't matter. How are you going to present yourself to the seller? You have to figure that out. Presentation is crucial. Whether it's a buyer, seller, investor, it doesn't matter. Your presentation is crucial. When I sit down even with investors and I show them our site, projects, how we can figure out our return on investment, they appreciate this. Why? Because I have a presentation along while I'm doing this meeting. So presentation is crucial after you understand product. Understand costs. Why you make more money selling homes than with buyers who buy homes, and they say that across the broker industry, is because sellers have more money. You make more money with those people who have more money. First-time home buyers usually don't have money, so they're just entering the market. But people who are selling a home have more money. They have equity. And because they have equity, they have more money. So they want you to understand finance or costs. That's why you have to break it down to them what everything costs, because you're dealing with their money, their equity position. They want to know how much money will they take away from this sale of a home, whether they're moving or it's a job transition or whatever. So you want to understand product, you want to be presentable, you want to understand costs. And I'll just go subcategory. Title companies do well for you here. If you don't understand how to make a seller's net sheet, talk to a title rep and they'll do one for free and they'll go over all the steps. But these are services, and as you see, there's being stacked. Why is this? Why is this? Because they expect a lot from you. Your clients expect a lot from you. You're in the industry to make money, and your clients expect a lot of service. When I go into a hotel or when I go anywhere, I expect something out of wherever I'm going. When I go to a restaurant, I expect that they spend money on a menu, right? If they don't have a menu, it's kind of hard to start off. That's a presentation, right? They gave you a menu. They go, this is what we sell. We don't have hamburgers and fries. We're fish and steak or whatever. But they're telling you, they're giving you a presentation. Then they're telling you about costs. So when we go into a restaurant, we have an expectation. Well, when your sellers are dealing with brokers, they have an expectation too. And I would say the biggest expectation is they want you to help them figure out the money flow of the transaction. They want you to set them the expectation of what's happening in the market. Will this home sell in 24 hours or 24 days or 48 days or 55 days or 90 days? It doesn't matter wherever the market is, but you have to inform your sellers where the market's at, because you're setting an expectation. So product, presentation, cost, market. You have to do some title clearance. And I'll tell you why you want to do a title search or title clearance, is that what the sellers say is not maybe what's really true. You know, maybe they forgot to pay their water bill 2 years ago and it's already a lien against their property for $50. But whatever it is. But that's a service you have to do. You have to say, you know what? There's some things on your title that we have to talk about. Or maybe there's an easement right that's recorded against their title and they really, against their property, they didn't know that they had a storm sewer easement or whatever on the right side of their home that's 5 feet from the boundary line. Whatever it is, but your title search helps them go back to this. Talks about product and it helps you with your presentation. And then setting expectations about the timeline of time frames of the transaction. Why is all this important? Time frames are very crucial. It sets the tone of the file. I've had a client where we tried to close, and 3 days before closings, the buyers failed the contract. They couldn't. They had to resend. And I mean, 3 days to closing. The seller's already moved out. We had a vacant house, and then you talk about new time frames. So you always have to talk about time frames with your client. And I said, you know what? I guess the market is this. We'll have to go to the market, be on the market probably for another 2 weeks because that's what the market shows homes sell for, and we'll probably need another 30 days to close. These are the new time frames. This is what the reflection of the market is. Yes, it's very disappointing, but this is what's going on with your home. That's the best service I could do to my sellers. And they would be like, what do we do with it being vacant? Well, when it's vacant, you talk about product, have your heat on usually at 55 or 60 so the house doesn't freeze. Keep a couple lights on, and we'll just note that the home is vacant now. But the sellers are seeking guidance about how you are handling the file. So you have to set time frames upon everything. When they need to move, when they need to move out. These are all questions. And what happens is over your career, you'll find that most customers ask the same questions. It's the same process. The process or time frames is the same. So our job is to get better and better on communicating them and reflecting that constantly to our seller. So communication is key. With your seller. Most of my sellers want me to talk to them at least once a week. They call and they ask how things go over the weekend, how many showings, what is the market doing, reflecting what's happening, the response of the buyers, and so forth. Like most sellers want you to communicate at least once a week to them that you're alive, that you're reachable, and that you're doing your work on selling their home and presenting it to the market. And this is really crucial. These are services that you and I have to cultivate in our business. And again, if you're new to the industry, there's plenty of brokers who have already went through this. So it would be good to ask questions or maybe tag along with somebody who's going through this or taking a product to the market. One more thing about product is curb appeal. And I always say curb appeal is so crucial. Like that's the selling point of the house. People look at your first photo of the home and that will determine a lot if they want to look at the home or not, right? If I can't see the home and there's, the grass is 3 feet tall, like that's a nuisance to selling the home. So curb appeal on product is so crucial. And the last thing I would say is be there at title and closing. This is their net sheet. Be there at closing with your seller. Your seller, when they finalize the sale, they usually ask questions about turning off utilities, about who pays off their mortgage. That's usually a huge question because they're worried about payment structure, prorating things, proration of taxes and insurance. All of these questions arise at closing. So you're basically finalizing and sealing the deal right here. This is your seal of the deal. So when we look at real estate and we look at services, as we talked about buyers, Now we talk about sellers in resale market. You and I understand that there's so many things that are layered. And it's good for myself. I mean, we have a spreadsheet where we write down services that we offer to our sellers, and so should you. You should start writing them down, whether it's just one service or two services or three services, but you slowly have to understand all the stack layers that exist on taking a home to the market. Why? The more services you offer, the more you will be able to service your clients. The more clients you'll be able to service. The more services you offer, the more the market will compliment you. Why? Because people in the market see what you offer and what you don't. And again, if you take that big box to your sellers, those sellers are going to show all the other sellers that you gave them a big box of stuff when you wanted to sell their home. So selling a home is very crucial. First of all, you're dealing with people with higher net worth, you're dealing with more money, and you're dealing with people who own product. And it is important to learn how to deliver this product to the market and what is going on truly in the market regarding their home. Also, we have to elevate. When I started, I didn't understand any of this. I didn't know any of this. But one step after another, you have to start studying these stages. You have to start getting introduced to different levels of services that other brokers offer or you yourself have to develop as a service skill to service your sellers. We'll talk more about when it comes to distress and that category with sellers in different circumstances and situations and how you have to develop a whole other layer of services to service those clients. But today, this is what we talk about, resale and selling homes for your clients. Any questions? Add-ons? Yes?
Do you pull title prior to your listing appointment, like preliminary title?
Sometimes I do. If I question the homeowner or the situation or the circumstance, then I would pull title, yes. So most of my builders, I don't pull title. Most of my homeowners, when they tell me like their mortgage is really close to, there's not enough equity in the home, I usually pull title on those. When I see that there's not enough equity to cover, I want to know the true numbers to figure out the true cost of everything that's going to happen. Whether maybe I have to drop maybe my commission or different compensation programs, but how are we going to make this financially work so a person, when they sell their home, they have some equity or they can walk away with equity. I'll give you examples, many examples. There's a time I sold a distressed home and we actually got more equity than the person thought he would get. They divorced, he left, she left, the house just stood vacant. He had a small mortgage, he thought the bank took it, the bank never took it. We called him up, we were like, hey, there's this, so we take it to the market complimented us really more, and he walked away with a really big equity. But we still pulled title because there's a divorce situation, so anytime there's like a trigger for distress or some level of distress, I'm going to pull title because I really want to see all the layers of that exist. Any other questions? Okay, thank you for your time for this morning.